Speaking of madness, let's talk about the migrant situation. We've got cabinet ministers now telling the Archbishop of Canterbury to butt out and stop complaining about, you know, inhumane rules and regulations about stopping the migrants from coming here or sending them to Rwanda. But we've now found ourselves with even more people, I think, coming this time this year than there were this time last year, right?
Well, you know, the whole government policy on this, as we've discussed before, Mike, is based around what they claim to be deterrents. But if you analyse the treatment that we give those that cross the Channel illegally and enter the United Kingdom illegally, it's hardly anything but a deterrent.
Yes.
You know, the minute they enter our territorial waters, they're put on border force boats, given a warm blanket, a cup of tea, brought onto shore, moved, you know, seamlessly to Pimlico, put in a 4-star hotel with poor Wi-Fi, but they get two or three.
The food's okay.
Food's okay. 2 or 3 to a room, free dental care, free health care, cash in their pockets. What's there not to like? And free legal advice, of course, too. Free legal support.
And, of course, the legal advice is always, here's how you get to stay here.
This is how you get to stay. And so we're not practicing deterrence as a mechanism to stop the boats from coming. And we knew that even before analysing it, because if people are leaving France, it can only be because the economic benefits they get in the United Kingdom are better than France. Their safety is already assured, isn't it?
Yeah.
None of these people are refugees in the true sense of the word.
No.
They've left
because
their
everybody who says,
countries.
oh, but they're coming here from war-torn countries, they're fleeing, and sometimes when you flee a war-torn country, you don't have a passport. These are all people who, by the way, have never been to a war-torn country and don't actually know what it's like.
Well, many of them haven't. Many of them haven't. Absolutely right.
And when they do flee a war-torn country, quite frankly, they should be happy to find the first safe haven, shouldn't they?
And stay there.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we get told, and this is where the narrative starts to get invented by the left, then we get told, well, the reason they come to Britain is because they've either got family here or because they speak English as a second language. We then find out...
And we know that's not true.
Yeah, well, we know that's not true because they're spending £337,000 down in Dorset hiring people to teach them to speak English while they're on the barge that sits outside Portland Bill. So, it can't, again, both stories can't be right.
And the reason they... By the way, just is quite interesting, the reason they justify the complaints about poor Wi-Fi is because their translation apps on their iPads, which, by the way, we give them too. We give them iPads so they can communicate with us.
Oh, for God's sake.
Their translation apps can't work without proper Wi-Fi. That's why the Wi-Fi is important. So that's our idea of a deterrent.
Are they watching Netflix? They're watching, like, Harry and Meghan, the non-fiction binary. How about this? I've just seen this from Sky News. Greece has experienced a heat wave with temperatures expected to reach up to 44 degrees in some areas. Tourists have seen sheltering from the sun under trees and using fountains to cool themselves off.
Well, no kidding. Well, that's happened for a few thousand years, I think. They've
got an interview with a woman who's laughing and playing in the fountain while putting a hat on her dog. It doesn't look as if it's a crisis to me.
No.
It's like, it's summer. It's nice.
But we are, nevertheless, targeting to add another £1 trillion to British government debt in order to fight this climate change. You know, not a day goes by when we don't hear from the government how important it is to control government debt, to control spending, so that the economy can return to a proper trajectory. And yet they go down this path, which by their own estimates is going to cost the UK taxpayer £1.4 trillion.
Well, it's
massive.
It was only last week, I think, that Rishi Sunak said that he was going to put the green levy back on households, which was taken off actually by Liz Truss, £170 a year to help pay for, you know, renewable energy and to basically subsidise millionaire green entrepreneurs who are already doing fine, thanks very much indeed, but who can't sustain energy because when it doesn't blow the wind the right way or when it's too hot for the solar panels, they can't produce any energy.
We had to fire up 2 coal power stations the other day. Did you see that?
Yeah.
A few weeks ago.
Well, we have to do it all the time.
Yeah.
Because the point about your renewable energy is it may be renewable, but it's not reliable.
And we just haven't made that transition. You know, what the US has got so right is that before they've sought to tackle what they call their climate crisis, they've become the biggest producer of oil and gas in the world.
Yeah.
They fracked their way to economic prosperity, secure energy security, and from that position of strength, they announced the $370 billion Inflation Reduction Act. You know, we haven't put ourselves in that position.
No.
We did the opposite of the US. We switched off North Sea.
Yeah.
We shut down new licenses effectively back in March 2021.
Also did away with the gas storage facility.
Did away. Why would you do away with storage? For goodness sake. And it's not just a storage tank you can switch back on. It needs maintenance and it needs to be kept up to standard. So to switch it back on now apparently is unaffordable. It's completely unjoined up thinking. And to make matters worse, we're now importing liquefied natural gas fracked in the US at vast cost across the sea. We've got carbon emissions and freezing it, literally shipping gas, freezing it, shipping it, defrosting it, and then using it in the UK when we could have just produced it in the North Sea.
Well, you could have made it in Blackpool. You know,
you could have.
You literally could have done. Unbelievable.